Hello and welcome to another episode of KPMG's Leaders in Insurance Career Stories podcast. I'm your host Tayyab Siddiqui, Assistant Manager in the Insurance Transformation team, and today we're going to be talking about change, continuous improvement, how AI is driving innovation, and some tips and advice for how you can start your career in the insurance industry. And I'm delighted to say that talking through those topics today, we are joined by Emily Mills, Head of Continuous Improvement at Allianz. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to see you, Tayyab.
Okay, so I wanted to start by talking a bit about your career journey. So for the listeners at home, you started at Allianz, undertook various roles, management roles, and then transitioned into consulting, working in the transformation team with myself, and then going back to Allianz as Head of Continuous Improvement. So can you just tell us a bit more about your career journey and some of your experiences so far?
Yeah, of course. I think like many people who work in insurance, it wasn't an industry that I grew up imagining myself working in. And I started my career working on a 6-month contract, intending to go travelling before I started university, and then managed to progress my career up through the organisation. There are two kind of key themes that underpin all of the roles I held within Allianz. And those are mostly focused around customer centricity and really being passionate about doing the right things by our customers, helping our customers, and also problem solving. Okay. And those themes are things that I feel really passionate about, that I really enjoy, and have been reoccurring themes in every single role that I've held within Allianz.
So just picking up on that second one, problem solving, you transitioned into consulting as part of the transformation team, again, solving problems. Did you get any different perspectives working in consulting as part of the transformation team, and did you take anything back with you when you returned to Allianz?
What I learned from working in consulting and with many of the clients that I worked with is that as insurance businesses, we're trying to fix a lot of problems at the moment, and actually going back with a much more razor-focused view on where we invest our time, and making sure that where we're investing energy and efforts, we're really focused on delivering those key things that are going to make the biggest impact to our customers and our businesses. I think it's very easy in industry to be quite busy all day attending meetings, and it's maybe much more disciplined in really thinking about where can I and my team add the greatest value to the business.
Okay, so you talked about making a difference and bringing about benefit. What does continuous improvement and change then mean to you from a business perspective?
Yeah, continuous improvement for me it's a cultural piece for an organisation. It's really about making sure that across all layers of the business, you've got people that are really focused on making those small incremental improvements every day to improve the business. But what that's really underpinned by is having real clarity around the business vision and ambition. And that really helps ensure that where you're investing time and effort in making those improvements gives people the autonomy and clarity to make sure that they're prioritising and focusing on the right areas.
Okay, and does that differ to you on a personal level in terms of change and continuous improvement?
No, I think there's lots of commonality between the two. In my personal life, I'm very passionate about CrossFit. It's a sport that I do in any spare time I have, which normally involves me waking up very early every morning to go in the gym and do crazy things. But each year, I really focus on setting a small number of quite challenging targets and goals. And then I'll work with my coach to break those down. And that involves doing some quite boring things on a day-to-day basis, but those are all those small steps that kind of getting me towards that end goal. So quite a lot of commonalities between the approach I take with my hobby, but also the approach I take in business as well.
And what are your current CrossFit goals then?
Well, last year it was working on my handstand push-ups, and then I've got some quite significant goals this year in terms of the weights that I want to lift. There's also a gymnastics element to CrossFit as well that I've got some kind of key goals around. But yeah, it's really breaking those down and making sure that you're kind of reassessing progress against those end goals. But the small incremental steps every day, it is the small micro detail taking you that 1% closer to where you're looking to get to.
Very nice and very impressive. now going back to your current role, you mentioned at the start that insurance can sometimes be seen as a more traditional industry. So what's it like working in, making change in an industry that can be seen as traditional?
Yeah, I think firstly, the rate of change that we are seeing across the insurance industry at the moment is faster than we've ever seen. I think, emerging tech, some of the AI capability that's coming into the market is creating loads of opportunity. But I think going back to the previous point I made, I think it's really about making sure that the opportunities that insurers are investing in and where we're really adopting this technology really aligns to what we're looking to achieve across our business, and that really needs to be underpinned by where it can add value to our customers or brokers.
Okay, so you talked about making change, and obviously the hot topic on everyone's lips at the moment is technology and specifically AI. So what do you think the insurance industry's current attitudes and adoption is towards AI?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for the insurance industry, and I think there's a lot of opportunity that emerging tech like AI offers. I think sort of similar to some of the previous conversation we've had, I think this is really about where this is being adopted and doing that in a really mindful and considered way. I think there's probably a little bit of fear and trepidation, will AI take jobs? But where I see the most immediate benefit being is actually freeing up capacity with some of the kind of more routine, admin, repetitive type tasks, which is creating a real opportunity to enable skilled, qualified people to be making a more significant difference from a human perspective. So in the relationships they're forging with brokers, with customers, and really using and maximising their own skills and capabilities. So I really think when it's kind of enhanced and partnered with that human element, that's the real key to unlocking some of the true benefits.
Okay, so I wanted to finish off with a few quick fire questions. So Firstly, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone starting their career now?
I got given a piece of advice once which really sort of stuck with me, and it was about being aware of the things that you're not so good at or your weaknesses. And I think for many years I was, you get feedback or you'd be looking at the things, that person's so much better in that area than I am. And you could really work on honing some of those skills, but if they're not your natural strengths, with all the hard work in the world, you're probably only ever going to be average at them. I think there's a lot more value in really focusing on the things you're good at. That's what makes you unique. They're normally the things that you're really passionate about and that you enjoy. And actually really amplifying those is a far better way to make a name for yourself and to really exploit some of the benefits that you can offer to an employer. That's not to say that you shouldn't be aware of the areas you're not so strong, but I think it's really then having that awareness enables you to ensure that you've got a team around you where you've got those complementary skills, and that's really where you tend to bring the best of yourself to an employer or an organisation.
Amazing. Okay, so the next one, you seem like a very organised and goal-driven person. So what's one habit or routine that you have in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I've got a very busy lifestyle with work and family at home, so routine is really key for me. I wake up every morning at 5 o'clock. I think the fact that I have that routine built in, it kind of makes it a non-negotiable, even on the days where it's raining, like today, and I don't want to get up. It means that I follow that routine. Another thing that's really key for me, and has been quite a game changer in terms of how I organise my time, is that I make time every evening to plan. So I'll look at the day ahead, I'll think about what the key priorities are for that day and make sure that those are the things that I do first. And then I also take time on a weekly basis to really reassess, to set up my goals for that week. And these all align to my kind of overarching goals for the year, and that applies from a business sense but also from a personal perspective as well. And that's been really, really key in terms of making sure that I'm investing my time in the right things and making sure that the things I'm achieving on a day-to-day basis are contributing to that longer term goal. Okay,
last question. What is one book that you'd recommend and why?
Now that is a difficult question because I love reading and have read a lot of books that I could recommend. Probably one that's really relevant to the conversation we've had that I read recently and really resonated is a book called Essentialism, and it's by an author called Greg McKeown. And this book really focuses on some of the themes we've picked up on today in terms of like what are the essential tasks that you need to get done, making sure that things you're doing every day, the things that are the priority things that add to your kind of wider goals. But it was a really insightful read, and it was one of those ones where you can take away some really like practical things that you can apply in your day-to-day life. So would definitely recommend that one as a read.
No, it seems like a really good one to read. I'll make sure to give it a go. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been really great having you back. And thank you for listening at home, and hopefully we will see you soon.